Oh, yeah, now you all have to click something, sorry.
Digging out here. Okay, so we're gonna go back to.
And we have advanced client cost question too, cool.
Okay, payments done through IELTS are received 1099. Okay.
Okay, you want to hit the 1099 question first? Or is that
Yeah,
what you're
that's what I thought. I thought that's what we're
Okay.
gonna do. Okay, so Julie, you're asking, regardless of which account it's coming out of, it typically on the IELTS, if it's a 1099 moment, is that, I just making sure, like, payments to contractors, you still issue a 1099.
So I think my question is, when it's coming out of trust, because the payment is made on behalf of a client.
Yep.
So the law firm didn't receive any services or pay any contractor. They are paying a balance due to the vendor out of a settlement. Is that, so does that qualify for something that the law firm should issue a 1099 for? Because I've never been able to get a straight answer about that.
Well, we always say that when in doubt, just send it out, right? But they got the money for the settlement, even though it's not their money, but those checks are issued off of their company name to that vendor for services rendered on that settlement. You have to send out a 1099 because the settlement company doesn't know.
Right.
They know what's included, but they're not going to be the ones issuing it. They issued the lump sum check. They're not going to ask for the individuals. So yeah, you have to send it out.
Okay, so then that means that all of those balances that come up, if there's a lien that comes up that has to be paid out of the settlement, we've got to go back and find out what type of services those were to see if they even qualify. Does that make sense? Like, say
Yeah.
someone had a lien for, we have no contact with the vendor. We've had no interaction with the vendor whatsoever to even know what that.
So the lien holder is like, I'm just trying to think of a name of a large, I've seen before in the lien. Some corporations, because they're corporations, some of those lien holders are corporations. So you're not issuing to that corporation.
Right. Except if it's medical, you have to still issue if it's a corporation for a medical service, which I just learned that when I was looking for this info on the IRS.
That's new to me. That one's,
Yeah.
Is that under the new guidance?
It is on the IRS site right currently. I've never heard of it before. I've heard of the attorney. You have to still issue to an attorney. But
let me write that down because
That's interesting.
And so there are a lot of medical providers that have not gotten a 1099 from me because they're a corporation. Does anyone else have any?
I'm curious while you guys are, let me go on the IRS site because I really thought medical, because it's a corporation, so like a major hospital, right? Or the only ones I've been issuing to personally, I'll speak from my side, is those little chiropractic LLCs, those little tiny offices that deem those because of the services rendered and the fact that it's over. But medical providers, I'm going to go to the IRS site right now. That's new.
Julie,
really interesting. I didn't
you don't mean like the medical records. You mean actual medical
services.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they went to a provider and had an exam or whatever.
Which part in that? I mean, I'm on the site. Medical and care payments. Okay, right there. Medical and care payments. Okay. Let me just go in there. Oh, wow. Anyone else? Have you guys ever had to think about this, or anyone else want to chime in on this? Because this is always a tough one for all of us.
It is. It's really complex when you get into the 1099s for law firms because it's multi-level when you start to do those every year. That's kind of why we were, one of the things I wrote an article, I think I wrote it for Intuit, maybe not, maybe it was on my website about using tags. Trying to find a reason to use tags because they kind of are lame with Intuit. I'm sure someday they'll be great, but right now they're pretty lame. And I thought of, if you don't have a file that you have a custom field for, so you can make this custom field 1099 and make it NEC and then regular 1099 miscellaneous and start to tag things as you go along so that when you get up against it, you'll be able to use that. But go ahead,
And
Sarah.
I did take that idea from you, Linda, when you had mentioned it a while back, and I've been trying to do it, but I have so many now that
I know.
I'm trying to determine whether I can eliminate some of these and feel free not to worry about certain types of payments, but I just never seem to get a straight answer from.
So here's an interesting spot. Gross proceeds paid to attorneys. Generally, you're not required to report the claimant's attorney's fees. For example, an insurance company pays a claimant attorney $100,000 to settle a claim. The insurance company reports the payment as gross proceeds of $100K in box 10. However, the insurance company does not have the reporting requirement for the claimant's attorney fees subsequently paid for their funds. So it's one section is saying the settlement is not required on behalf of the insurance company, but my sense is what I was saying earlier. It's on behalf of the firm who received those settlements on behalf of the client that are required. So then from there, I would need to read a little bit more in the code to just read through it.
Are you talking about box 6, Julie? Box 6 medical health care payments?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's where these go. This is newly discovered for me. I've never used it before.
But box 6 is predominantly, I think, isn't that in the employers section? That's the employer side, right? Oh, no, it's in trade. No, I've got that wrong.
I just
Okay.
don't understand why it has to be so complicated. Do you think that businesses could get some kind of number along with their tax ID that says 1099 required, 1099 not required?
I know.
I am going to ask, my other business partner is.
I was just going to say, maybe we reach out, phone a EA.
Yeah, I'll
That deals in this.
Yeah, I'll ask my colleague Rebecca. She and I go, sometimes we do this together. We'll just like tear
Figure it
apart
out. We could ask Josh
code,
too.
an IRS code together because we've had some inventory.
Thank you, Joanne, because I was just going to ask, can you share the page that you're looking at so we can all have a picture of it?
It should be the 1099 miscellaneous. And that's on the miscellaneous though. You know, but yeah, I'll go back. I have a feeling you've hit something special too because of the changes. There might have been changes that we just took for granted because they introduced it as like the NEC, but inside of it, they might have incorporated a bit more. Okay, well, let me see what I can get for us in a week.
Thank you.
And help out and and see what we can come up with. That was a 1099 question and it's kind of,
It's good to get yourself ready for that season because when we're usually up against it for like NEC time, and then when with your clients, getting ahead of it, we try to give them like a prepared list somewhere in October and say, here's what we have so far. Especially if the people don't have they haven't asked for the W-9, they haven't asked for the information from the client. Some firms are really good about that, and some firms don't even think about it. And then all of a sudden, you don't want to be running and scrambling the last week of January to get that information. So it's a good practice to.
I see a lot of head nods, like Anne and everybody's like, yes, that's yes.
It's better to bother them then they'll ignore you. Most of them will ignore you.
It's a nightmare this year.
It
Nightmare.
was 100%.
That's why I have so many questions about it this year, because last year I came mid-year to a firm and they had not collected any W-9s and there was no indication on any checks whether something would be needed or not. So I kind of had to go back check by check and it was such a nightmare. So I'm like, I'm going to get ahead this year, but I keep running into all these questions. So
yeah, it's a good time to really start to think about it and get ourselves going on it because
you know what I'll ask her too is, I mean, she always has these continue ads for that. just for certifications for herself and such. I'll ask her if there's one in particular that she likes that she can turn me on to, or something that, you know, we could share with the group. And
Yeah.
so I'll inquire with her on our behalf. Okay, so I think Deanna is next, right? With, let's go.
Yeah.
Are
Yep.
we?
Deanna
Let's
is
see.
next.
Bill for time.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a new software for you. Where is she? Where did she go?
She's here. She's blocked out.
She's
And
blocked out. Okay. So
It's an
how many-
interesting software. I mean,
yeah, it is. How many people have had experience with Bill for time?
anybody?
I know I have.
We have.
Yolanda has, but she's not here.
Mhm. It's an interesting software because, Sarah, you kind of, well, you're like this anyway, naturally. You're one of those people that can pop into a software and I'll be like, where the heck is this? Like I do with Clio. And it's like, that doesn't make sense where that button is. But she'll go, oh, you just go here, 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 here. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then she'll expose stuff that I would maybe spend 20 minutes trying to figure out where it is. And did you, since Deanna's here but locked out, do you want to bring up the bill for time account that we have and we'll stop?
Yeah, maybe we stop share. Let me see if I
Yeah.
can get back into it. Yeah, one
Yeah,
second.
but they're still paying for it, so they still have
Yeah,
it.
they are.
It is definitely, okay. And Anne has a Cleo question. Yeah, Cleo,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
excuse me. Can you move along? Thank you.
Oh, are you ready for me?
Yes. Do you have your bill? Oh, go ahead,
No,
Ann. Yeah,
no,
go for it. Yeah.
we're helping Deanna, but she's, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead,
No,
Anne.
go for
Hear
it.
it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a Cleo question or not. So my law firm had left a firm, a previous firm. They started their own firm. So they still have a ton of cases at this old firm, right? So I keep all the advanced costs separately for the old firm cases, separate from the new, from the current firm cases. So I guess every time they incur an advanced cost, the staff is supposed to send it over to the old firm to get a reimbursement for it. And they haven't been. So now I have like 2 years worth of stuff that's sitting in advanced cost. And he's asking me, like, he wants to periodically send it to the firm and say, hey, like, we need reimbursement for this stuff. And he's like, what's the easiest way without having to look at every single transaction? So like, I was like, I don't think there is an easy way. So like what I've been doing is I download it in Excel. I have all of the case numbers like applied to each advanced cost so I could group them together. But I don't think there's an easy way to, unless I manually go through the Excel worksheet and just delete the lines that have been already reimbursed.
I don't think
So
there's.
I don't know if it's a Clio. I don't know if it's something that's easier to look up in Clio. I don't have Clio hooked up because they put the advanced cost in after I put them into QuickBooks. So
Oh,
it's
you can.
insane. I know.
You can hook it up. You just don't have to do the hard cost section at the bottom where it two-way syncs it. I have hard costs, advanced client
Okay.
costs.
I don't think they're doing everything manually. So it's working out fine, the system that we're doing. It's just not, I don't think it's the right way, but I just don't know if there's a way, an easy like button you press in Clio that's just like, oh, here, this is all sorted, this is already reimbursed, but like I don't think it kind of works that way.
Well, because you've got two firm softwares, right? I'm just making sure I follow you. So two firm software, two different firms. Clio over here, you're entering advanced client costs, case costs is over here that really are for the other firm that need to get reimbursed back over. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in QuickBooks. They're just separate. Yeah, they're just separate. And he's just like, there's just a ton of them now, and we're only reimbursed for like some of them. And he's like, how do I pull this up where I can just easily send it to the firm to say, hey, you guys still owe us money on all these cases?
Well, so when the
I don't think there is.
they're on Clio's side, how do you have those marked that those cases are
I don't
pointed
touch Clio at all because I give them quarterly. He said, send me the advanced cost quarterly so I can have my girls enter them into Clio. And I'm just like, okay. So basically when I'm coding everything, I put it
So, yeah. Clio's out. You're the starting point. So that's out.
Okay. That's what I figured.
Take that out. Yeah. So the way you've done is probably the only way to do it. And then if and when you're ready to change that integration piece, you can, and you don't have to bring in hard costs, but I can show you that later. But for the time being, what you're doing, I would just do your spreadsheet. there's no easy way.
Yeah, so just do the spreadsheet and just go like sort it by the cases and then just
Yeah.
delete each line item that actually has been physically reimbursed.
Yeah, maybe here's my cheat thing that I do anytime I do this. I make like an extra column with little markers, like I put dots or X's, and then I filter and sort, and then I wipe out the things that are not extra marked. And then voila, they're gone. So you don't have to individual line go through that. So that's how I clean up my stuff real quick. I just kind of make a cheat spot for myself it means nothing to anyone else. If anyone else looked at my stuff, they'd be like, what is that?
Do you have one? We have something that you did that with. Could we show it? How you did? Because it's confusing what you just said. No offense. I'm like, what do you mean a dot? I know we had some paperwork that you.
It's like, so you take the columns, right? And so when she's going through and saying these need to be reimbursed, instead of color coding and highlighting, I filter. So I keep it in however I want to sort it. And I basically extra column that puts a dot next to it, like a little box.
It's a dot, just a dot.
Well, just a dot, just something in there, just a character. And then I filter that so that column with the whole spreadsheet, right? So I filter the whole thing so that anything that doesn't have that, I just mass delete that, because that means I don't need that in my thing. Everything else I've checked and verified. And then whatever's left over, then I clear that column because it means nothing to anybody else. Anything that's left over goes back into that normal sorted mode. And then I produce the document. And then it's not a very manual like it's manual, but it's not, you're not one by one individually.
Yeah.
But that's the only way. I mean, the way that you've described it is probably the only way, because you're so
That's what I thought. I mean, I told him that we should hook up the Clio like back when they got it. And then he was just like, well, I don't understand. He was just kind of like, I'm like, I'm the one that's putting it in. Like, I'm the one that's responsible for this. Like, okay. But like, so then I give it to his staff when it should be the opposite way. It's fine. So I just code everything to uncategorized. I give them a spreadsheet. They fill in the case numbers, and then I go back in and I change it to advanced cost under the case name each month. And it works out fine. Like, it's like an hour's worth of work. It's not like anything that's insane, but I know it's just, there's an easier way to do it, but I don't know if it's worth even trying to train them because they're so backwards in the way they think about things. And kind of working with this system, but like, I'm just kind of like, you're not utilizing Clio the way you should be, but okay, whatever. Like,
you should say is when you're ready to accept it the way that I'm trying to present it to you, let me know and I'm happy to help you out. And then we'll show you how to do that.
I spent months like trying to get that, and I was just like, oh, and then I was like, I'm the one that's responsible for this, and I was like, oh my gosh. Then I like really had to be careful about coding stuff because I'm like, this is like on me now, so it's fine. But
yeah. Well, maybe in a way when you're ready, because there's a way to make, So the part that you just mentioned, the first part, I think you're on track, like the easy way to do it.
Okay. All right. That's what I figured. I just wanted to double check before I just tell him like, no, there's no other way. But thank you. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Deanna, are you ready? Do you want me to dive into yours or
are you there?
Let's see. Okay. Let me, looks like Bill for Time did a nice little upgrade on there.
Sarah actually kind of liked Bill for Time.
Yeah, kind of.
It had some good reports, as I recall. Had some good reports. I just saw something come by my screen that says Intuit's monitoring some intermittent outages. So if anybody say, my QuickBooks isn't working.
Oh, really? Okay. Let me see if I have this login still. Because it would be good if we could have her in.
I know, I don't know where she is. Well, she's on the phone or something.
Let's see. Okay, here it is. I got to get the firm code.
Yeah. Are you going to share? So I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I can log in first before I. No, it's been deactivated. No.
Okay, so we can't.
So
all right, Deanna, then I guess we move on to Kim's stuff because Deanna, it's fixed. So whatever Intuit had a problem with is now fixed. That was pretty quick. So we can move on to Carl. Kim's questions were interesting, and Deanna, is there a way we can tell Deanna on a note, like, let's see.
So I don't know if you all saw it, but Kim had a bunch of scenarios.
Yeah, she did, and we could Yeah.
Is there any one of them that you, if any one of you have read them, is there anyone that in particular you want us to start with? I don't see her here,
She's
so
not here now.
yeah. Not sure.
Okay,
So-
so let's start at the top then, Sarah, because what is,
Okay.
I'm trying to see, let's see.
A new attorney just starting their firm with no accounting system, no legal software, nothing. Hey,
Nope.
how many of you
Had
guys
that
have
before.
that? And then
Mhm.
all they know is she wants to start accepting personal injury cases. Well,
Okay.
I think there's a bunch of us here that are in that spot, right? Where we're trying to work through.
Yeah, well,
maybe I'll-
personal injury, I mean, you're getting the money, if you win the case, you're getting the money at the end. So you really don't need any extra software because the trust accounting, that money goes into trust, but then you're divvying it out. So the only reason you'd want it would be to collect on the cost, but you could make the costs billable as they come through in QuickBooks, and then they're ready to be billed back to the client. You mark them as billable and mark them in the, I mean, you don't have to have the software. Software is great to track the,
Well,
gas costs.
there's software out there that folks are using. We heard of a new one. Sorry, there's something in my eye. Are you guys anyone familiar with Filevine? You heard of that? Okay, a lot of PIs actually have Filevine.
Mhm.
And then another one is a new one to us.
What was the one we just heard the other day? Case
Case-
creeper?
We're gonna start working with it. But yeah, so anyway, so there's that. And a lot of times what happens in there is the way that it's not so much, they're tracking the case, but they're doing it a little differently in that software, that program. And a lot of times their advanced client costs are going and their soft costs are going in there so that when it comes time for settlement, they can produce those documents pretty quickly. They do additionally, and I think Julie might be the one that knows as well, is they also have their own spreadsheets in addition to that. So there's several things that go on. So that, so then the next question, Linda, maybe you should take it. No, I'm kidding. An attorney who's been practicing about 1.5 years, she has been using Clio, but no accounting system and 3-way reconciliations, never
No
been
accounting
confirmed.
system?
No accounting.
No
IOLTA,
accounting, just using Clio to track the
Just Clio.
invoices.
which, as you guys know, Clio says we're not an accounting system. Please do not use us just solely. You have to.
But it must have a
carry it.
spreadsheet or something, right? Because you have to have
Attorney-
something.
Well, it says the attorney's been using operating account to fund their personal lifestyle. This attorney has been practicing family law, which brings in about 200K per year. She
Ooh.
knows she can at least reach 500K. So this is a loaded one. If it's a question of growth / changes / well, you need an accounting system.
Yeah,
I mean-
absolutely need the accounting system. Start
Oh.
right there with at the end is here. Start right there with that, right? So you have to have an accounting system with Clio. It is not Cosmolex, which is a all-in-one kind of solution. So I think I'd have that conversation. I'd ask them in a nice way. I'd say, if this attorney's new to you, I'd say, hi, Mr. or Mrs. Attorney. So you've obviously, when was the last time you prepared your tax return? When's your last good tax return? And hopefully they say 2020. And then ask to have that copy when you're going to be doing the scope, but also ask how the person got those numbers. Because sometimes the attorneys will do something like what they're doing here with Clio, but they're actually, the tax professionals connected the bank feed and is dumping everything in at cash basis, which is such a crappy system because now you're not validating movements of money out of trust. And we see this. And then they're just doing that minimal viable product of getting the tax return out with the data that they pulled in from the bank, right? We had a very lively conversation with a lady about that, Sarah, remember? With somebody tax professional that did it that way. And she was like, I don't care. I just got to get the tax return done. I don't really care that things don't align. We're like, oh.
She forced it. She forced it on the other
She's
side.
force balanced everything. Yep.
Everything. In fact, that she ended up apologizing to me because she put entries over my entries. And I said, don't do that. Let's
She
have a
did that too.
conversation. So let's please not do those things because that's not right to
And
each
she
other.
doubled everything on us because she threw her own entries in to balance things to the tax return. And we had already done that and didn't even look to see if we had done that. She just was like, boom. Oh, you don't have access to the file, so you can't show. Can we get a free trial or anything on that, Sarah? To like log in or?
I'll rate them. I'll see. That might be a product. Let me add that as a product. It is a known product. I mean, it is one that's
Pretty big. It's
pretty
probably
big.
one you should all be familiar with. It's
Yeah.
got a lot of it's a little bit different in the way, because it can be used for a lot of different industries, not just law, right?
Yeah, there are other people. Yeah. The one that you're asking about, Jane, I've recently heard of in the last 3 months. It's brand new. And so I'm curious about it. I'd like to add that to the list to get.
Which is why no one answered your question, probably, Jane. Leap, huh?
Yeah, it's
Think
new.
we can get a free thing on that too. That's brand new?
I know where to, I know how to connect back
Get 'em?
in the back channel
Okay.
to get that one. Yeah.
Good.
So that
Okay,
one,
good.
the bill for time one, I'm just going to be one fish in the big sea asking for a demo. So
Mhm.
I will do it though.
But if they have a free like trial,
Yeah. Well, I'll ask.
sometimes they
But
do.
so Deanna, maybe can we just talk
Yeah, free
about
trial.
just kind of let's just talk, because it's new for you. So let's just talk about maybe some of the things that you're thinking of, or hesitations or thought processes that with this software that you're kind of curious about. Yeah.
Yeah, so the initial conversation, so I'm only familiar with my case, which is
Okay.
fun.
Yeah.
And I'm able to I figured it out what was happening. So with this client, what I got from him is out of bill for time is that, so he's brand new. He's only had the firm for 3 months. He hasn't done, he actually is, he's a tax lawyer. So he knows accounting. He just can't do, he's like, I just am working 12-hour days. I can't do it. And I'm like, yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he said, so just from, because I didn't know what to ask, I didn't know what to ask about it, but what he had mentioned is that, so it is connected to QuickBooks. So the invoicing comes over, to QuickBooks. The invoices do, the trust deposits do go to QuickBooks. But then he said, he was attempting to do journal entries when they moved the funds over. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to like mentally visualize like how that actually, like how do you receive the payment, and then how do you, like, what's the journal entry to reduce the client liability and then also to relieve the AR on the client? Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to
Kind of manual, right, Sarah? That's a more manual process because they're just creating the invoice, but it's not doing the trust stuff in the background.
It's only doing the deposit for retainer, it sounds like. So the movement over, yeah, you do it as a journal. It's like a lot of softwares actually do it as a journal. So it's okay to do it that way. So you'd, credit the trust account and on the bank side, and then you debit the the liability. So it depends on how you're going to have that liability register set up. If you're going to have it as a total, yeah, or the individual, like Linda and I we do the individual names. So you have the current, the trust liabilities, and then at the header and then below. Just depends on how you're going to do that. But it isn't a problem to do it, because then once it leaves that bank, all you do is on the bank feed side, you just match to that journal on the trust bank feed. You're just matching to that debit. And then on the operating side where the money's coming in, you're matching the payment that's already showing up. You match that payment in the operating side.
So very much that manual process of, like, the only thing he's doing is tracking his time basically in there, right? And then receiving the retainer. So everything else is like you're doing QuickBooks manually without having the software to track the trust stuff. You'll be tracking it manually. I think it's this week. I don't know if it's in the post, but there's a whole post going to be on my website about how to do, because I just don't do manually anymore. Most of the time we stick with the two software. So I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I had to reach out to Sarah and go, oh, how do we do that again? Because I completely forgot, didn't do it. Haven't done it in a while. And I'm like, how do I get it? I know how to move the money, but how do I get it to be the right way so it hits the right bank accounts, which you have to do products and services, and you have to have it go, like, you make a retainer received, a retainer applied product, and then you use that, but you're going to be in it. You're going to have like totally different software. So it'll be more just journal entries to move it, because it's going to, I mean, if you're invoicing.
Well, the invoices are coming over. They're going to
invoices are coming in as AR.
Yeah.
So that she doesn't have to worry about that. It's just the movement. It's kind of the simple part of it. It's the way I see it.
Wouldn't she have to use like a retainer received, or she wouldn't have to use a receipt, but the retainer applied, and then go into that invoice and add it to apply it and make it a negative to bring the invoice to zero if there was a retainer, and then pull it out of the header into the line? No?
No,
Am I
Keep it-
complicating it more?
yeah, keep it
Yeah,
simple.
see, that's the part I can't visualize
Simple.
because I'm
You
like,
mark it as paid. You mark it as paid, right? On the AR side, just keep it real simple. Invoices in, mark it as paid, undeposited funds. As soon as that money comes in from the other bank, you just apply it to that paid invoice. You just, what's marked as paid, you apply that, right?
But then how are you hitting the header? How are you hitting the ledger?
The ledger is the journal entry.
So you're
Two
hitting it
separate
out of
Here,
undeposited?
Let me pull it up. Yeah, I just, let me
I'm
do it.
lost.
Okay.
I'm trying to, okay.
It's okay. Let's I think a few of you have got it with me. I think some of you probably figured out what I'm
If I
saying.
see it,
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
grab it for you. Yeah,
Wait, I wish
I
there was-
will get it, of course. Oh, we lost somebody. Okay, let's see. Paste. I don't know what that is. Linda, I go in the demo. I have to go under yours. We haven't fixed that problem.
Or you can go in the law firm one too, if you want.
I will
Me too.
go. Yeah, let me go. Demo law firm.
I don't know
Okay.
why you can't see it because you're under it as an accountant, but that's a QuickBooks thing.
QuickBooks issue. Okay, here we go. You can see it, right? In all my glorious tabs. Okay, so,
That's nothing for you.
okay, Lancaster, we're just gonna pretend. Oh, Jesus, I don't like that. Okay. Oh, move this bar, edit this.
I don't like
invoice.
that we have to hit another click to get to the invoice.
I hate it too.
I don't know
Okay,
why they did that.
I agree.
Like, why? Why? What does that do?
okay.
Drives me crazy.
So this Lancaster had 10,500 for an invoice, right? We received the payment. The payment came in, well, just today. That's fine. We're gonna just take this payment in and it's going to undeposited funds,
Mhm.
save and close. Okay. Then I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna JE it over here. Same one. Right here. Out of there. I don't know if Lancaster is a real thing. So let's say we're just going to hit the header of our liabilities. I forgot that invoice from
Doesn't
December. There we go.
Lancaster.
So, and then I would probably take it one step further because that's how my brain works. And
All right, so you're taking it out of the trust account, bank account. You're reducing the money out of the bank account, and you're no.
I'm
yeah.
reducing it both sides.
Yep, both
You know,
sides.
opposites right
yeah,
there.
so you're debiting the liability to reduce it and you're crediting the bank to reduce the bank.
Yeah.
But
So
then,
then I'm over here in the magic world, right? And then, oh, of course, we just gotta pretend here. Okay, so pretend it's in here.
so you're going to say that it was, all right, so then it's in
No.
hitting the bank, but the bank side's only going to be hit from the payment on the invoice, right?
So the operating account on this day is going to just get this. There's our payment, right? That's what the operating is going to get. We match to the payment on this side. Okay, save and close. Make sure everyone's okay with that. So save and close. Then on the transfer out, oops. So
Transfer out, you don't have to, right? Because you've already reduced the
all
bank.
you're going to do is
and you're
match
increasing.
to the journal entry. So I'm just going to pretend I don't have one.
Sarah,
in-
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, you move so fast. So,
Sorry.
on the, I think I lost, on the an operating account, so we receive payment. So how are they moving the money? Is he probably doing transfers?
That's fine if he's doing transfers. It won't matter.
So the
You're
transfer
not-
is going to show the money came out because you're going to have that in there from the journal entry and coming in from the customer payment. So you're going to see both sides in here. It'll match to, right?
So don't get caught up in the transfer when he transfers the money from bank to bank. As long as can he do them one for one and not group them?
Yeah. That's key too.
That I'm not sure.
Tell him that you want to do that for compliance purposes, that you want him to, anytime he moves money from IOLTA to operating, you want it to be individual so you can code it and keep it books compliant. We tell people that all the time. And they're like, oh, good.
If he wants to do it in the group, because he's a tax attorney and they like to be that showy kind of person, if he does do it in the group, your caveat with that is you'll need to provide me exactly the list of all the details coming out. I'm not going to go and guess or figure it out. You're going to that list has to come from you. You're just not even going to make the software try and figure it out.
So if he tried to do it with a check, right? He's writing a check out of IOLTA and depositing it into operating. How would you handle that with this?
Well, it's the same thing. So that's why I said,
You're not
don't
gonna
worry
put
about
notes in it?
don't worry about the transfer. The
Mhm.
idea is when you're taking the draw out of the bank feed on this side, so that pretend that's 10,500 right here, okay? That looks like a transfer. Let's pretend it's also a check. You don't care that it's a transfer. You're going to say, hey, I'm going to match you to my journal entry.
Okay, that's what, okay, good.
Yeah.
So you're treating them like separate pieces and you're honoring that system separately. What happens a lot of times, people get caught up in the transfer.
Yeah.
Right. They just like get stuck in that. And I understand that it's very confusing and misleading. And that's why sometimes attorneys are afraid to do it. So they want to do a check. I don't care how you get your money out. Get your money out. Just be clear to me how you get your money out. So if you're going to group it, you are going to be the person providing me the details. I am not going to trust in the software that I'm going to just grab that out because you can make a mistake. You know what I mean?
A lot of people will actually, you find when you're doing a cleanup, you'll see that they've done the transfer or they've done the bank to bank transfer in there. And then all these other transactions are going and then you got more transactions than you really need in there. So that happens a lot of times too.
Yeah. So that would be helpful. Now it's interesting. I don't think Ann's here, but the thing that she brought up was interesting, that the advanced client cost in the two files. And I don't know if any of you have had this experience. I know that Linda and I have had where one partnership is folded down while the other partnership is brand new, but they're still cleaning up and it's a legacy partnership. Well, there's still a lot of activity inside of that because with every new firm, just because the old firm collapsed, all that business technically is done under the old firm's name. So legally, they have to let those clients know that legally we have a new formation, you have a new engagement, and we have dissolved this and brought this over. They have to do it sometimes with the courts even because same representation, just different name of the firm. And so with that comes some trickiness to the balancing, like she's saying, where the other firm needs to reimburse and vice versa. So sometimes if you have the software in there and you can make it work for you too, there's ways to do it. If the firm can let you in on the secret in advance and help you plan that, that's helpful because you're seeing large movements of money and stuff too. So you don't be surprised. I mean, this is always an evolution in firms. You see this all the time. So if you come up against it, it's like, how do I do this? We've lived through it, so we can help you. Just ask us and we're happy to talk.
That happens a lot in this industry where we have one client. How many times has he changed partners, Sarah?
Oh yeah, so many. When moving money from IOLTA to operating, is it better to write a check or do a wire transfer? So it doesn't matter. It won't matter. Just if it's got to be super clear on the accounting side of it. If you're going to do which way you do it, just make it has to be super, super clear. If it's 1-for-1, awesome. If it's not going to be 1-for-1 and you're going to group it and you're going to move 20K over and that contains 5 clients, that they are responsible to tell you. Put it back on them.
Yeah.
And then we'll attach that to the transfer in the bank or to the transaction.
Yeah.
Attach that list.
Yeah. Yeah. Something, anything if you can get your hands on it.
We had one, I think we've mentioned this before, where we had the lady that she was really diligent. Still have her, was diligent about like giving us the check copies, but she actually photographed the money. So people paid in cash and she Xeroxed $20, oh God, Xerox an old word. I'm like looking through these pictures. I'm like, Sarah, you got to see this. And I pulled her in because I was entering the deposits and I'm like, Oh my God, she's there. It was like 40 pages and she Xeroxed all the $20 bills that the person came in and paid. Bless her heart.
That was her way of being honest, right?
She was honest to a fault. That's what that showed me in that.
Yeah. I mean, she takes it so, and she's the same one that had the biggest problem too, that we helped
Yeah, the one that
emotionally. So, okay. So you have questions, the QBL reporting, the client trust liability report. Is there a way to show whether the other side of the transaction was reconciled yet on the bank side? Oh, I think they put it back. And the way that you can do that part, Julie, is if you are in the gear icon in the report, so not the customized, but the little gear icon, and you can mark it's either cleared or at one point it said reconciled. Then they took it away for whatever reason. And then they put cleared, but cleared meant nothing to me. I was like, this is always blank.
But you
But
could also
try that.
reconcile the individual accounts and then you'd be able to.
Oh, it works.
It works now. Yeah. It didn't work before. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. That's
I
simple.
know. Isn't that awesome? Yeah.
Yes. My other question about that client trust liability report, someone, I think it might have been Deanna, had recommended, or Morgan, I don't know who told me, but to pull that report just for today and it gives the subtotal.
Mm-hmm.
That works on one of my clients, but it does not work on another one. So when I do just today, it's blank. It's a blank report. And I'm not sure what might be going on. It's the same, they're both customer report, but I created exactly the same way. So I don't know.
You want to pull it up? I can stop recording. You want to pull it up and we see the difference?
Yeah, I have it pulled up right now.
Okay,
So
let me stop.
Mind for a long time. Oh yes, thank you. So yeah, it's regarding I have a lawyer that uses trust books. And my question is, because it's totally separate with QuickBooks Online, do I can I still should I upload the bank trust account also in QuickBooks?
So does
Or
he have
should
it? Where does he keep it? Just only in trust books? He doesn't keep any record of it anywhere in a bank?
Right, right.
You
Well,
don't,
I mean,
you reconcile the bank there though? In QuickBooks?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, in
everything
trust
is done in trust book, everything.
Yeah,
Oh.
you
It's
can reconcile
automatic.
stuff.
Yes, it's all in trust book. So if they have
That's a
Completely.
really good question.
yeah, but I'm thinking because the invoices does come over to the
Yeah.
operating account, of course, when he moves from the trust to the operating. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if does it matter if I have the bank account, the
You know-
trust account in QuickBooks and then match
Well,
it
you
like
need your offsetting account, right? How the money comes in. I know what you mean. They've got some really good reports in there, not the trust book side, but so my question, well, what you could do,
Well,
do a lot of work in trust books. She could just keep it real simple. You know, just have the bank and just have the one ledger.
one ledger, yeah.
Just trust, like call it like trust account, trust books. You know, like label it something clear for yourself on the liability side.
Okay.
So every time you debit, it's like this is the same scenario that we were just doing for that. Don't you think, Linda? And then because those actually trust books actually does have some really nice.
It's very
Right.
basic,
I mean,
but it's very clear.
I love it. It's very clear. It's
Very
got the
simple. It's a
three
simple.
ways reconciliation, and you can attach the statement, bank
Yeah, it's got a
statement.
good
I mean,
three-way
it's everything
report.
in one, and the report is everything at once. So I'm just wondering if that's something.
Did you know that trust books can feed into Clio?
Oh no,
Uh-huh.
I don't want that. I don't want to try that.
Okay.
Did you know that
I think it's great how it
in
works right now.
Florida, the lawyers that get in trouble with their accounts have to use trust books for a year as part of their punishment if they're not balanced.
Ah.
The trust books is it was made by an attorney here in Florida. So he's got some association with the
yes.
APA and he's
That's
the
right.
local bar. And that's something that I've seen over and over again, that the attorneys that have a problem when they get their first, like, oh, this is wrong, you need to fix it. They make them use trust books for a year.
But here's the funny thing about trust books, because it happened to Linda and I thought I was going to pull my freaking hair out. She used it wrong in a weird way.
Oh,
And
she
before
sure
I knew
did.
it, I had several $20. I literally was like to nauseam trying to reconcile this account. I'm like, what $20 am I picking up in this reconciliation? Because she used it wrong. And she put all this, and you'd have to see it to understand, but it literally, I was like, Linda, I'm getting dizzy just doing this. It's so frustrating because it's simplistic enough, but it does drive me nuts on how you have to like tick, tick, tick. I want to go crazy.
Had a good report though. It did have a good three-way. Remember the
Yeah,
three-way
it's
system?
great.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it personally.
I always think though, if you keep it separate, the part of having everything in one place is a way to validate the movement of the money from one account to the other. So when you separate it like that, you can validate one side, but if the trust didn't actually get, you can put it in one side, say, yeah, I moved the money, but if you actually didn't move the money and you don't see it on the other side, I mean, that's the only thing about separated books.
Well, maybe I just leave it how it is then.
Yeah, you don't want to make more work for yourself
Right.
that you're not going to get paid for or compensated for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I didn't know that, Linda. That.
Yeah, I read that somewhere and it you know, around. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the top of the hour just about. Anybody else have any more questions? We have a super duper special guest next week.
Yes. Don't say it.
I'm not going to say. Well, we're going to tease it all week, but it's a super duper awesome special guest coming next week that I think it's going to be a fun session. So yeah, you'll be seeing some little posts of teasing it, but it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to next week.
Oh yeah.
I always look forward to this one too. This one, I always learn something on this one for sure. It's always fascinating how everybody looks at things. You guys are definitely the upper level. Sarah and I we just had a pretty large firm sign with us, and very large, our largest big project. And my husband, now we're in this little tiny condo, not in our house, and he's been listening to like us on meetings, and I've had to use my earbuds. He hears one side and he said, you know, you guys have to understand that not everybody can do the work that you ladies do. And he's like, I'm listening to the half of the conversation. And he says, you guys have to give yourself a lot of credit because there's not a lot of people that do and have the knowledge that we do in this group. Even, I mean, every way we all go about it, I can tell you one thing, if we all took a personality test, I think we'd all have a couple of, or many personality traits that are similar because we all approach things the same way. I think if they had a question about, your balance is off by a penny, what would you do? A, put it in an account. B, we'd all be like, good God, we would not let it go. Even if it took 10 hours and we couldn't bill it, we'd have to find the penny. Right? And that's the kind of people that do this kind of work. So it was interesting. Sarah and I were talking about before the meeting, and I'm like, you know, he's giving me this, you guys have to understand that's why you charge more money and you have that value to the client that is not out there with the average bookkeeper. So it's some part of our selling, and sometimes it's good to hear it from somebody else who's eavesdropping in my meeting. You know, he can't help it because he's right there, you know, but even with the door shut, he can hear it.
It's the impactful group where we make changes.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And it's innovative as well. I think we're very innovative. I love how we all kind of figure out how to do things together, which is awesome. Yeah. So next week, secret, but you're going to find out when you show up, and it's going to be worth showing up for sure.
Or on Wednesday when we do a little tease.
Yeah. We'll do tease on Wednesday too. Yeah. On law Wednesdays, which is legal accounting Wednesday. Sarah and I hop on for like 10-15 minutes and just chat about things. So if you haven't seen that yet, I've been putting it in the group as well, but if you haven't seen it, we'd love to have you come on. We'll even bring you on if you want to come in and come on, if I can figure out how to do that. I'm getting there. I'm getting better with the Facebook Live thing. I never had to do that part when I was in QB Community Live. That was not my forte, and I'm learning on the fly, but so far so good. It's working.
I love it.
Well, everybody have a good weekend. I know it's hot out there, like, you know, it's the same for us in Florida, but it's hot. I heard it. My daughter was there. When I was up there, she put her pool up. She said, Mom, it hasn't even been hot enough to go in the pool since you left. I'm like, what? No.
Oh, okay. Here's my call.
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this